I have started the recording. Hello.
Cool. Hey everyone, welcome to the Security Society of UNSW's AGM, better known as SecSoc for most of you. So yeah, welcome, thanks for coming. And let's have a look at what we're going to be going through tonight. So our agenda, firstly, apologies and attendance. If you haven't already, please fill out the ARC form just to log who's here. And then we'll go into the president's report. So I'll give a bit of details of how the year went for us, what were our visions, what we achieved, what were some issues that we faced. And then Abiram will be giving our treasurer's report, all the money we spent this year, or the lack of. And then we'll be going through a couple constitutional amendments. So some things that have just become old because ARC's removed it from their requirements, specifically referencing ourselves as a financial club. Another thing about allowing our returning officer access to contact information so that they can collect that for nominees and votes for these elections only. Removing a repeated clause that we have in there twice, and clarifying campaigning rules around current committee members being able to campaign for themselves. Then we'll go into the part that most people are probably here for, the election results, and some business without notice will end up there. So yeah, that's the agenda. Cool. Any apologies for people not here? I don't think so.
I think most... all the execs are here, at least. So
and nominees are too. So
no apologies.
Sweet.
I second that.
Okay.
Any objections? If you've got an objection to anything, just hit the raise hand button.
Easy. Okay.
Don't think there are any objections, so we can move on.
Yeah, okay, so let's go into the president's report. So who is SecSoc? This is a photo of some of us at our like subcom induction day type thing, way before COVID. So yeah, well, in the middle of the first COVID and the second COVID, but yeah, before the lockdown, there was a few of us there, fun day. Yeah, so that's our team photo, I guess. And what do we do? Engage students into the world of cybersecurity. So anything to do with security, and any student, whether you're first year, postgrad, doesn't matter. We help you, I guess, join a community that will allow you to explore what security is all about, and yeah, just have fun, I guess. Group photo at the dinner. Yes, that one's on, I think later in the slides, I used the group photo from dinner, so I didn't want to have the same photo twice. Yeah, okay, so what do we do at a high level? And then I'll go into what we actually did this year specifically. But we do CTFs. That's one of the biggest things I guess we're known for. CTFs are capture the flag competitions, where you get to try a bunch of security and even, I guess, non-security challenges like OSINT. That, yeah, they're just fun little games. You find a flag, you win points. It's a good time. So that's what we're known for. We write our own and we participate in external ones too. There's industry and workshop events. So we run career-oriented and upskilling events, workshops, hands-on things, or talks and Q&As, so that students can get a bit of insight into what it might be like working in security once they graduate. We also run social events like movie nights, study sessions, games nights. In fact, there's one after the AGM that everyone should come along to. And newly explored for us is our own conferences, but in the past we have attended conferences as a society as well, most notably the B-Sides conference. When it has run, when COVID wasn't a thing, we do organize buses and we go together as a group, and yeah, we get to learn cool things and meet people in industry there. But also possibly coming up in the future is our very first student-focused conference too. Okay, so what was our vision in 2021? Well, we expanded quite a bit. We introduced subcommittee roles for the very first time. So previously, SecSoc was pretty flat. It was mostly just leads for every different position. So we had like a newsletter lead, and we had a media lead and we had a socials lead like that. But now we have directors and subcommittees. So that's obviously allowed us to do a lot more this year, rather than just, I guess, a smaller set of events and reaching less people. So we also restructured and made this a bit more organized in the sense that we have just main portfolios. We have careers, events, projects, media, and CTF. So focused on our biggest aspects, I guess, the things that we do most. And then we had people under those groups working together. A key goal was also for us to engage more diverse groups into the security space. So a big focus was new students, like first years, for example, introducing them to security, because at UNSW, at least, you don't get to try any courses until at least your second year, if you're doing like a computer science degree. And if it's another degree, you might not pick the elective till very late on in your degree. So we wanted to give people that taste now so that they can, I guess, join the community and learn at a slower pace. And also, we wanted to engage more female identifying students. We achieved this with a collaboration with the Girls in Engineering Club. We ran high school workshops, so outreach to female identifying students, which was really cool and fun. And we also had an Atlassian Women in Security talk, so a panel for our current students to see what it's like to work in industry. In regards to introducing students into security for the very first time, we ran a collaboration with SecSoc, which is the broader constituent society, and we ran a newbie CTF with them. So we brought in some students who had never tried security before ever. So that was pretty cool. And some of them are here today as well. So I'm glad it had a long-lasting impact on them. But yeah, these initiatives, I guess, tied together with our broader goal of just spreading awareness of security to the greater student body. And yeah, they also operated in, I guess, parallel to our ongoing efforts to rebrand the society. So you probably just noticed from the slides, it's a bit more colorful than maybe what you'd expected from the typical hacker vibe. And a lot of that can also be attributed to our projects team this year, who rebranded our website, which you can see at that link if you're curious. It features a lot more resources and information, and it has a much more inviting look, at least I think so, with lighter colors and things like that. Yeah, we also established events and careers subcommittees, which was an important part. In the past, SecSoc had never had like a dedicated role even to or a group dedicated to actually engaging with sponsors and careers outside of UNSW. So we were limited in what we could do and who we could engage in terms of like introducing students to what it's like to be in industry. But this year we had a much bigger expansion of that. We went from like 1 to 9 sponsors, which is fantastic. And a big thanks to the careers team in particular for that. But yeah, that gave us a lot more opportunity. We pretty much hosted fortnightly events, which covered a whole range of topics like big tech, consulting, banking, startups, security, and all of those different industries. So that was pretty cool. So what were some of our highlights specifically? Our student-run workshops were really cool. SecSoc did upskill its members by introducing these more introductory workshops, which I already mentioned, the Intro to Security one with Girls in Engineering Club, but also a lockpicking workshop with UTS Cybersecurity Society. That was pretty cool too. It would have been cooler if we could host it in person, but COVID meant that it was an online workshop. But yeah, it was fun to meet other people from different universities, especially because the security community is quite tight-knit. And B-Sides also gave us that opportunity to meet them there in person. So yeah, that was a cool workshop we ran this year. And also 3 CTF competitions, which is quite big. For those who don't know, a CTF takes a really long time to plan, at least 6 to 8 weeks of effort for the subcommittee and the directors. So thank you to Abiram and Arthab as well for leading that subcommittee there. Yeah, it was pretty much completely unique questions for every single CTF. And we had consistently way over 150 people competing in them. So it was really cool. In terms of our industry talks, These are just a few of the ones we had this year, but obviously this is a huge thank you to the careers team, because we wouldn't have any of these talks if it weren't for our sponsors that we could secure. So we had the detection at scale with Google, the dark web with Pure Security, digital forensics and incident response with CyberCX, hacking on bug bounties with AssetNote, defeating AI and endpoint security with Skylight Cyber, and the Women in Security panel that I already mentioned before. So yeah, big thanks to careers there for organizing all of those. We also ran socials, events, movie nights, games nights, competitions. I think where people might know us most from is giving out free Subway at movie nights in T1. So this was a part of the 6441 course, where one of the lectures is actually just watching a movie, and it's open to anyone to go to. So SecSoc just provided dinner there because it was at quite an awkward time of between like 6 to 9 p.m. So yeah, eating and movies, what more could you want, especially when they're security focused and you're with all your friends. So it was really nice. We did that before COVID. It was a great opportunity and a bonding event for everyone. We've also run both in-person and online games nights. They're also super fun on our Discord, which has grown a lot this year as well. And we compete together in external competitions like the Down Under CTF, which was at the beginning of this term. And we had the first place all-female team there. So yeah, that was fun too. I mentioned this a little bit already, but the rebranding of our society has been quite huge. It's something that we thought was quite important to do, because I guess the vibes around security sometimes aren't the best. So we just wanted to make them a bit better, a bit more inviting, and easier for people on the outside to go, oh, this looks quite cool, this interests me, I might give it a shot. So yeah, better vibes, more visible social media presence, a Discord community of over 1,000 people, which is insane. And if you want to check out a SCON's website, it should be up soon, but it's currently under dev, but also lovely colors. It's a great vibe. Yeah, so a bit different there. And also last note, I guess, is our CTF infrastructure has not let us down, which is something that I think everyone should be quite proud of, especially having so many people access it and use it. Lastly, I'll talk about our conferences. So B-Sides trip, that was a super fun trip. There was around 60 of us that went together. It was a free bus from UNSW all the way to Canberra. And we partnered with SecEdu for that one. So they funded it for us, which was fantastic. We also had a free bar tab with Skylight Cyber, who's one of our sponsors. And that was a super fun event that everyone could go to after definitely staying and watching every single talk at the conference. Yeah, so that was a super fun event. Yeah, one of it, I think the highlights of the year for most people. And so I guess because it was such a highlight, we thought, how can we kind of bring this to Sydney, but also make it a little bit more student focused? Because something that we realized at B-Sides was so many of the talks were made for professionals, and you know, they have a lot of assumed knowledge around them, tools that you already need to know, and things, technical terms that we're just kind of sitting there and like, huh, what do you mean? So we thought, what if we get speakers that design talks that are made for students, a little bit more bite-sized, and it's in Sydney, so people don't have to trek it all the way to Canberra, even though that part was kind of fun. So we are planning a conference run in collaboration with SecEdu. It was postponed due to COVID, and we thought it wouldn't be safe just to run a conference with like 200 people gathered. And also the uni probably wouldn't let us, but it will happen sometime next year. So you can keep an eye out for it. And hopefully the new executives are on board with this initiative too. And yeah, the planning keeps going as is. If you're curious what that is, that's our SCON. That probably is going to be our logo. The conference is called SCONs from a really long story where the name was going to be like Student Security SecEdu Conference. I don't know, very long name. And we were just like, why don't we just call it SCONs? Why not? Why not? So it's called SCONs, unless the new executives are like, no way, and change it on us. But yeah, I say right now on the record, it's called SCONs for you know, yeah. But what about the issues we faced? So COVID part 2, bit of a bummer. We were quite limited in terms of our social events. I know our events team were quite keen on having a lot of things in person go ahead, but all that got moved online. But I do still want to thank them for running things and bringing the community together, because I know how like demotivating it can be when a lot of your plans just get completely cancelled and you have no idea if you get to postpone them or not, and it's kind of out of your control. So still a big thanks for you guys for soldiering on. Scones conference, that was a huge bummer for us as well. We were all so keen and so organized. We had our timeline plan and ready to get it out on time, but of course that was out of our hands too. Merch and prize handouts have been one of the biggest headaches, because we pretty much had like 8 weeks of handing out things at the beginning of the year, and then all the people who planned to collect all their stuff from that time onwards couldn't, because uni got locked down. So we still have a lot of that to do and sort through, but I guess that's now something the next executives will have to look after. And team bonding is something specifically that I wished we had a little bit better this year, but it became quite hard online, and especially with such a big growth in our society, it was quite a bad trial year to expand everything so large, because we didn't really know, even on a good year, we wouldn't have known how to make sure everybody felt supported, because it's quite new, but I guess it was just made harder with COVID. So yeah, that was a little bit tricky. The delayed B-sides bus was probably the biggest stress that the executives had this year, I would say. If you don't know the story on this one, we were all standing outside the B-sides conference, like 7 o'clock at night, and we're waiting for this bus to come to pick us up that we had booked. And like 20 minutes pass, we're thinking this guy's kind of late, like, where's the bus driver? And we're calling the bus driver, or Abiram, I'm pretty sure, was calling the bus driver. I think his name was George. And he's like, George, where are you? And George goes, I'm in Queensland. And we were like, you're where? In Queensland. So we all had a bit of a freak out. Turns out the bus company weren't going to send George. They were sending someone else, but they didn't tell us. They didn't give us this new person's number. So we were freaking out, thinking we didn't have a bus back to Sydney, which a lot of people needed, you know, to go to work the next day and things like that. But thankfully, some other guy rocked up with the bus, and we're all very relieved. But it was just this much stressful. So yeah. Would recommend to the new exec team, maybe confirm the bus driver before, a couple hours before. Some announcements were made a little bit later than what we planned. That's just because we, I guess, always lack the amount of foresight that we need for things. Like, we always think, oh, if we plan this event 3 weeks in advance, that's totally fine. But then we realize like media needs an extra 2 weeks, and sometimes miscommunications can happen. So hopefully that improves a bit next year. And there were a couple grievances here and there that we ended up sorting out, and Ada's worked heaps on a new grievance form as well. So hopefully it improves for next year as well. Cool. Lastly, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone on the screen. So I'm fingers crossed I didn't forget anyone, but here I have the executive team, the careers team, the CTF team, media team, projects and events. These are the people that brought you everything SecSoc this year. And we wouldn't have had even a fraction of what we did if it wasn't for all of these people. So major, major, major thank you to everyone for all your work and just like helping us achieve what we did this year. SecSoc has grown so much and has evolved so much, and I know it's helped so many people. So yeah, I just want to say massive, massive thanks to everyone. But I think that's it from me. Do I have to move a motion for people to accept this?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, need to approve the president's report.
But I can second
I
it.
will. Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
any objections? No objections by the looks of it.
Sweet. Okay, cool. I'll hand it over to Aram for the treasurer's report then.
Cool. Yeah, so I guess we all love money. So moving on to the next slide. Right, wrong direction. Cool. Okay, so expenditure this year. So let's break it down by category. In terms of CTF prizes, we budgeted a lot more than $329, but due to COVID, we couldn't run our final CTF for the year. So we wanted that to be a huge in-person ordeal, so only $329 there. Projects, we're looking to reduce that in the future. So right now, most of our infrastructure is on Google Cloud, but Google Cloud's a bit more expensive than normal. So I'd probably recommend that the future executive look to moving, but yeah, our project's cost was around $500 for this year. Events, we're pretty glad that most of our expenditure for this year went back towards the community, the broader security community. So that includes running movie nights every week during term 1. So we had subways for roughly 100 to 200 people for each movie night. Then we had the bus to B-side, so that cost us about $2,400 plus some biscuits. And we had some other events throughout the year, and we catered cookies and pizza for those. So that came to around $4,000, or a little less than 80% of our expenditure for this year. In terms of merch, we didn't get to release any new merch this year. Logistics would have been quite difficult considering the second lockdown, but we did have some leftover merch, and we also had to send off some merch, so that took that to $356. We also have a bunch of stickers in stockpile, so if you don't have a SecSoc sticker yet, make sure to come by once lockdown's over. Once we're back on campus. Internals budget. Our internals budget was relatively small, and our goal was to keep it relatively small because we wanted to spend as much money on the community without really restricting it to a certain group of people. So I only made up like $85 out of our expenditure. And finally, admin costs. So $240 on ARC's O-Week store, but we got $200 of that back, as you'll see on the next slide, since that's just a bond. And democracy is really expensive, so maybe next year we shouldn't run elections. Cool, so our total expenditure was just under $6,000. If we go on to our income, however, our income for this year was over $18,000. So some of this was from ARC grants. Then we have some merch sales from our spare merchandise. And our careers team got to work with getting us a lot of sponsorship. So a majority of this money comes from Google, Tesserent, Skylight Cyber, Premonition.io, Secov, and Asset Note. So that was our largest source of income. We also had $7,000 contributed directly by SecEDU, and the Girls in Engineering Club made a donation of $100 thanks to our workshops. So that brings our total income for the year around $18,375.50. So moving on to the state of the bank account for this year. So we started off with $16,160.90 at the start of the year. That's gone up to $28,759.36. Our goal was not to have a huge surplus by any means. We had a budget at the start of the year, but thanks to the COVID lockdown, we couldn't run a lot of the things that we wanted to run. And that's how we ended up with a roughly 13K surplus. We're running a conference next year, so hopefully that eats up some of that budget. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Cool. I think that's about it on the treasury.
Sweet. Okay.
You have to pass a motion, so I move we accept the treasurer report.
I second it.
Any objections? I don't see anything, so I'll assume it's passed.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go through the constitutional amendments. Do we have to approve each one separately, do you know, or just all of them at the end?
Yeah, separately. Yeah,
Okay.
so we can do the whole someone motions, someone seconds it, and then we ask if there are any objections.
Sweet.
I can
Okay.
speak on the 3 ones I did.
Yep.
So this one was because there's a lot of changes, but there's only actually one line we removed. The rest is just updating the numbering. We removed 2.2, so that's in red. At the top, it says, the club shall be recognized as a financial club. The reason why we are removing this is because there's no such thing as a financial club. So it's an outdated reference. Yeah. Are there any questions about this? I see one new message.
It's just
Oh,
stonks.
that's
It's all
unrelated.
stonks.
Cool.
I move that we accept this.
Second the motion.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Race condition.
Okay.
cool.
This one. 7 days prior the AGM, the official voting ballot shall be sent to members. This is the repetition one, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's not actually a repetition, it's a contradiction.
Okay.
There's another clause somewhere in that like section which contradicts it. So yeah, it's a bit problematic.
Probably under elections. No.
Search for 7.
It's on the 4.2, I think.
4.2.
4.19. Yeah, somewhere on 4.19.
Oh, that's right. That's a notice.
And that elections.
Oh yeah, here.
Somewhere there. Where was it?
Okay. So this is the current one. And then this is like the big election one, right? And it says 1 week somewhere.
Oh yeah. So it says the election must. Oh yeah, there it is. 4.19.2.2. At least 1 week before the election, nominations must close. Oh wait, what am I reading? No, maybe it was on the election ballots. There we go. Oh yes, that.
1 week.
So like you can't have nominations open at least 1 week before the election. And then start like, wait, was that the one? Crap.
Oh, this one.
I can find it. Was it? Oh, 4.18.1.1.
Yeah, so it is this one.
Okay, it was that one.
Nominations will be open and close the day before the election.
Yeah, so you can't have opening.
Yeah. If it says that you have to like send the ballot 7 days prior, you can't also have nominations be open at the same time, I guess.
Yes, that's it. There we go. Got there eventually.
Yeah, we did it.
I move that we accept this amendments.
I'll second that. Any objections?
Sweet. Okay.
Juliana, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, this one I added. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit so you guys can see this better because I can't even read it. So this is the old one, what it said. So contact details for members of your club are to remain within the executive and ARC to have sole access. Contact details are not to be given or sold to any other person. This meant that our returning officer couldn't have any details for the nominees or anything at all. And we're like, how do we run an election with a returning officer, which is required, without giving them contact details? So I said, notwithstanding clause 2.1.1, which is here, the exact same thing as this clause, but 2.1.1 says the returning officer specified in the part that says we need a returning officer shall have access to the contact details of those who choose to vote in an election. It must be made clear to the member that by choosing to vote, they are consenting to their contact details being given to the returning officer. Yeah, it didn't really make sense for the executives to know the nominees and run the election, like the actual ballot, and see the votes. Because that defeats the purpose of having a returning officer, right? So that's why we added this, so that the returning officer gets all the nominations and can send out the votes and see who votes. But they we don't like associate ourselves with that information. So we don't even know who's like, I guess, the next exec team right now. So yeah. Cool. I guess I move a motion for this.
I'll second.
Any objections? All good?
Looks like it's accepted.
Yeah.
Then the last one, clarification of campaign rules. Yes. So this was at the recommendation of ARC that we clarified these rules. Can you just zoom in a bit? I can't read it. Yes, so it seems to suggest that you can't campaign for yourself. However, ARC's interpretation is that you can campaign for yourself. so that they wanted that to be clarified in this constitution, but we also added 4.17.2.2 saying that you can't use, if you're campaigning for yourself and your committee or member or an exec, you can't use anything from your position that would make it unfair. So you can't use privileges or permissions.
Yep.
You must campaign like you're I guess normal dude.
Yeah, exactly like what Aaron put in the chat. Like you can't, if you have access to like at events or some ping that tags everyone, you can't use that.
I move that we pass this amendment.
Second it.
Cool. Any objections? Alrighty, I guess there are no objections, so all the amendments are passed.
Hey. Okay. Wow, so fast. We're already up to the election results.
Good. Speed run.
Yeah.
Mandy
So
Tao is our Mandy Tao is our returning officer. She is coming right now to here. I'm currently messaging her.
Is it working? Oh,
yeah,
there
we
we go. Fantastic. I do apologize for the noise. I may or may not be parked on the side of a highway at the moment. Very good time management on my part. But yeah, so I am your returning officer for this year, and I'm very pleased to announce the 2022 Security Society Executive Team. The president is Abiram. Sorry, I cannot pronounce your surname. And the vice president, Q-Sang Kim. The secretary, Paula Tennant. The treasurer, Priscilla Su. And the ARC delegate, Nicholas Tandiono.
Does all of those people accept their positions?
Accept the position.
I accept.
Yep. I accept.
I think did Nicholas say something? I think I got everyone.
Nicholas.
Yep, I accept.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I move that we accept the election of the 2022 executives.
I second it. Well done, guys. Congrats.
Yay.
Yay.
I also move that we accept Abraham, Hussein, and Priscilla as the bank signatories for 2022.
Second.
Cool. Are there any objections? Alrighty. And any business without notice?
Don't think so.
Congratulations to the new exec. Is that business without notice?
Yeah, congrats. Also special thanks to Mandy for pulling over on the side of a highway for us. Thank you. Also thank you again to the 2021 team and the executives. And a massive congratulations to the incoming team. I know you guys will do an amazing job. So yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. I guess that's the end of the AGM.
Do you want us to
Yeah.
stay for a
Thank
photo?
you. And thank you, Juliana, for being our president for 2021.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Juliana.
Thank you, Juliana.
Have
Thank
fun
you,
at
Juliana.
CSU Sock.
There's also a games night, I believe.
Yeah, it's gonna
Why'd you
start
call it
right
movie
now.
night?
Movie night.
Why'd you call
I-
it movie night?
If you're one of
I-
the new execs, expect a message from me on Slack soon. We got to do
Yeah.
some formal
Yeah,
stuff.
maybe
some
the new
formal-
execs can stay back for a second for photo.
Wait, Viknesh, we have to do formal stuff?
Need,
Yes.
I think we
Unbelievable.
need
You wanna
bank
become execs?
signatories and things.
Oh, that.
Yeah,
No, okay.
We also got to do like a form that all the execs have to fill out and sign, and then we send it to ARC.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for coming, and see you at the games night on Discord, by the way. Yeah. Except new execs, you're trapped forever. For a year at least.
What did I sign up to?
Oh, can the
Exactly.
new execs change their like name on Zoom to have like in the square brackets then you position,
Okay.
just so it's like easier.
Should we stop recording now?
Oh yes, it's officially over.
Good idea.
40 minutes speed run. Let's go.